And then I she must be figuring out.
And it is recording. Hello, volunteers. We are excited that you've chosen to join us, either watching it live or watching it via recording. We're going to get started. We're at Goodwill in Northport, so we hope that you can join us in the future. We're going to get all of our volunteers to have a seat, and we are very much looking forward to our technology journey. So if you notice anything about this journey, we want you to know it is not perfect, and we're really working on it. So we just realized today we do not need a computer to do this. So I'm going to try to straighten out this TV so you can see a little bit about what's going on, and then I'm going to turn it over to Heidi.
I think we can push it back.
Yeah, but it's like crooked. Is that crooked?
You want to push it back a little bit?
I don't know that I want to mess with the cords.
Okay, go ahead. I think if we push it, we'll play with it more next time.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much for coming. We want to honor everybody's time and make sure, we get you guys out of here on time. So thank you so much for coming for our very first Volunteer Connect. So bear with me. I'm not real comfortable right now, but we're going to get through this together. So we really want to honor you guys and kind of introduce a little bit more of who we are. I think this is something that we want to grow in as we're kind of very separate entities. With Northport, Venice, and Port Charlotte. So a little bit today is going to be more of who the staff is and kind of what our why is behind what we're sitting here with you guys in. So we're going to open up in prayer, and then we're going to jump right in. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come to right now, we just want to stop and just take time to thank you for the breath that you placed in our lungs this morning, Father. It's very intentional and it's very purposeful, Father. And just as we get ready to connect with people that we may not know, and just know that we're here on purpose, Father. You have brought everybody here because we need to be in the same room. So help us to be open and just help us to be willing to step out of maybe comfort zones and just be willing to just be present for all that you have for us today, Father. And we are so grateful that we get to call you, Father. We are so grateful that you walk before us, that you prepare a way for us, Father. So just thank you for these amazing people who came and who were willing, and we want to honor the ones that weren't able to make it today, Father, and we just want to pray a blessing over them as life gets busy, and sometimes it just doesn't fit the schedule that we had planned. So for the ones who couldn't make it, we just want to bless them today, Father, and that they have such a mighty purpose as well. And as we begin to just connect, just continue to grow us in ways that we never even thought possible. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So I will be reading. So I want to share a little bit. I know we sent out that Volunteer Connect newsletter, and just to share a little bit more behind the purpose of why we're sitting here in the Volunteer Connect. We want to make sure that our volunteers feel connected within the organization. Whether that is with other volunteers or with other staff members, being at 3 different centers, and even we have our Karen who does the support after abortion, who isn't really in that location, but this is such a great way that we can all come together and just get to know each other a little bit more. And as we grow these a little bit more, there'll be some training things coming in, but you won't always have all of the staff here. We wanted to make sure we honored you guys today and made sure that you guys knew that you were purposeful. We wanted to fit our schedule for you guys. So as we grow these, it's going to be a little bit more intentional with maybe some training, or we want to make sure you guys are up to date on what transitions are happening within the organization. We just want to always honor your time. And this is something that we're growing in because we haven't always been strong in it. So we want to make sure you guys are in the know, and this is just one way that we would love to do that for you guys. So that's a little bit more of the why behind this Volunteer Connect. So as we have them monthly, we can't always make them. Next month we will have actually a live stream. So if you can't make it, you'll be able to see it at your home on your computer. Your face will be up on the screen. We'll be able to see you guys. So we want to be really intentional to meet you guys where you are at. So that's a little bit. Any questions about the Volunteer Connect? Okay, so we're going to move on to the next step. So I wanted to share, and we're going to, Alicia, I think you have a few minutes, right?
Yeah, I gotta go, but
You gotta
I
go.
just wanted to introduce myself.
Okay.
I'm Alicia, the stenographer, but I have to say, well, at 9 o'clock, I gotta be in Venice to do a scan. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you all know who I was.
Thank you. So next, we're gonna have, our fabulous staff members, we're gonna all share a little bit of piece about us. And I know we did this a little bit in the newsletter, but sometimes as we speak, we share a little bit more of who we are. So we're just gonna share briefly, who we are, what we do within the organization, and, a little bit about the why behind why we're sitting here. So I don't even have an order, so we're just gonna start with Carolyn.
All right. So, do you want me to end the video?
Yeah.
While I'm talking?
Yeah, so they can see the
Instead of
face.
seeing the face.
There she is.
So, my name is Carolyn Franson. I am the client coordinator at the Northport office. So my why, I don't know if you guys have seen, I did a video. I went through with Karen through the Support After Abortion group. And while I was there, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to volunteer. So I started out volunteering, and I even did a video. It's on our Facebook or YouTube, our YouTube channel. If you want to watch it, it's a little my testimony. But I'll give you a tiny little bit. I've had an abortion. Then I felt, the Lord called me to volunteer and help other women through healing in that journey and walk alongside them. And then He brought me to the opportunity I have now, where I'm in the center. So it's been a roller coaster, but I'm super excited and it's new for me. And so it's just been awesome. So I'm here to encourage and help others through unexpected pregnancy because I've been there myself. So.
Thank you. I guess we'll just kind of go as it comes around. So Bobby, you'll be next.
So I'm Bobby Smith, and I've been here at Pregnancy Solutions for 7 years. I'm in my 7th year. I'm the director of operations, so I do a lot of behind the scenes. But when I first started, there were only 3 of us, so that meant I was in the client rooms a lot as well. I do still get pulled in once in a while, and I just love that direct interaction. I felt called here because I had some experiences as a child that led me to make, I believe, some poor choices in my late teens and early 20s. And as a result of that, I wasn't able to get pregnant. I wasn't able to have children, but wanted a family. And so I adopted, and the daughter that I adopted was just 3 days old when she came home with me. I just really feel that God has prepared me. He's put some experiences in my life that He has used with clients for me to connect with them. And I feel like some of the experiences in my childhood, I didn't have anyone to talk with. And so I see the power of the impact that can have when you have someone to talk with. So all of that has just led me to just feel very called, and I see God's purpose all the time, and the ways that He weaves my story in with Pregnancy Solutions.
Been avoiding the video all day.
I'm Janelle Worthington. I'm the event grant coordinator. I've been here about 2 years, and I think my why is kind of the opposite. So I actually started under Callie, and I just wanted to help in an administrative way. And over time, I think I've been in multiple positions with clients and without clients, but a lot of what I've learned has really just been God working on me and communication and relationship with people outside of Pregnancy Solutions. But a lot of that I've learned within Pregnancy Solutions. And so even just this past Saturday, I was spending time with one of my friends, and she was like, you've grown a lot, like in conversation, like you actually have like sympathy and empathy. You say you don't. She's like, but I do. And I was like, yeah. So it was just kind of cool. So I think a lot of my why is just kind of coming around. I think God was this opportunity to grow me. So.
Hi, I'm Sharon Harden, and I am in our Port Charlotte office. I've been with the organization for 6 years. It's interesting because when I came to the organization, it was because I had spare time, quite frankly, and I wasn't working at the time and felt like I might be able to add some value. And even though I said, I've never been pregnant, I don't know what, I don't know how to really help people, maybe there's something I can do. And I think what I am finding out through 6 years is I needed to learn humility, and I needed to learn that I am no different than the people people sitting across from me every day. I just, there but for the grace of God go I, that just resonates with me so often as I'm sitting across from them. I've done a lot of stupid in my life, and as they are sharing their stories, you know, I just am feeling and reminded constantly of the redemptive power of Jesus. And I think we tend to forget that. And so I had a pastor once who said from the pulpit, we can't expect people who are living in darkness to be anything other than what they are, and that is trying to survive the darkness. And that's where most of the clients were, and it's where I realized now I was, and I didn't know it at the time. And so I really want our clients to know that they're loved, that they have value, that they don't have to give themselves away. And we see that with so many of our young men. It's what I've always believed of our young women, and now I believe it of our young men after seeing Kingdom Men Rising and hearing Kirk Franklin and Lecrae tell their stories about seeking their identity of manhood and sexual promiscuity. They didn't know how to be a man, and so what to them was being sexually promiscuous. That's what being a man was. And so now I see it's not just the women who are seeking identity and love, it's the men as well. And so I don't want them to feel that. I want them to know there's a place they can come and they can be valued and loved for who they are. And I need them to hear that. They need to hear that because many of them don't. And so that's my why.
Lisa Lowe, so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you responded to the survey and that you made time today. It's super important. My biggest lesson coming into Pregnancy Solutions was the value of a volunteer. I had always worked with volunteers, but we have more volunteers than we do staff, and we do the same amount of work as we do. And so we're just really grateful to see the impact that you guys get to have. And I know that our clients, you know, need a need in you too, and are serving a great purpose, but I just want you to hear it from us is that we can't do this work without you. We can't do it without you. And that's been something hugely beneficial to my journey to understand how important it is. And so that's why these meetings, like Heidi said, are so important to us, because we want to be doing the same thing we're doing for our staff, for our volunteers. We want to make sure that we're breathing the same kind of life, because it is life or death, right? When we're in those rooms with those clients, and many of you will have those experiences or already have had those experiences. And so a little bit about my journey. I encountered Pregnancy Solutions back in 2012 through a visit with Bobby and Callie, and I was working at the teen parent program at the high school here in Northport. And we were currently, at that time, we were sending our young men and women who didn't know if they were pregnant or not, but for pregnancy tests to the health department. And they were coming back with all the same kind of judgment that maybe they were feeling in their home. And so when Bobby and Callie came and told me about what the plans were for opening an office in Northport, my heart was just incredibly indebted to the work that they were doing. Never did I ever see myself in this chair. But we then partnered, and we still are partnered to this day. And I would refer every man and woman that walked through, young man and young girl, into my classroom to Pregnancy Solutions. And my own personal journey then began to unravel with my own unexpected pregnancy. I too have a great deal of dysfunction in my past that led me down a road of codependency and unhealthy relationships, and just a lot of bad choices, and divorce is part of that. And I went through all of that kind of in this season, and I had an opportunity of kind of maybe righting some of those wrongs through an organization called Selah Freedom, who works with women who have been sex trafficked, and saw a lot of myself in those women. And although I wasn't trafficked, I understood how they could get their identity wrapped up in a very unhealthy man. And man, it was a journey, and it was awesome. And then Callie, 8 months ago, sat me down in Culver's at Jacaranda and said, I really feel called out of the ministry, and I think you're supposed to take it over. That's what she heard was going in my mouth. And I said, okay. And it just so happened there was a lot of other things unfolding in my previous role, and I felt the Lord moving in that as well. And here I am. And so it's been cool to see like the full circle, because my first question to the Lord is, what did I know? Yes, I had an unexpected pregnancy, but what did I know about these men and women? Well, the reality is these men and women, although their symptom is abortion, their symptom is unexpected pregnancy, there's no difference between the young lady that's walking in our door tomorrow or today in Venice than there was that we're walking through our doors at Sail of Freedom, that we're walking through our doors in the teen parent program. They are the same exact client, same exact junk from childhood, same exact traumas. It's just coming out in this fashion. And so when God revealed that truth, I was like, you got it, I can do this with your help. So there was just some real power in understanding that. And so taking all of that in, we're really excited about the direction, because I like to share this story. My first week on the job, there were 3 girls that walked in our center that I had had a relationship with 5 or 6 or 8 years before that were pregnant with their 3rd child, all of them. Some had experienced abortion, some had had their children removed, some were struggling with a domestic violence relationship. And I was like, Lord, what are you showing me? And the reality is that we were treating the symptom, we were treating the pregnancy, we were treating whatever was going on, the chaos of their circumstances. We were not getting to those really tough conversations about why these things kept repeating themselves. And so we are going to take a journey together on how to get to that. And I really believe we can do that really well, having walked through some of the most horrific stories of sex trafficking victims and different things. So I'm just really excited about this, and we can't do it without you. So I'm grateful, and I'm really excited about the future.
Hi, I am Kristen Van Ness. I am the program coordinator for Support After Abortion. Before Karen. I was initially drawn to this because I had gone through a healing program with Karen as a family member of somebody who's chosen abortion. And so I went through a couple healing programs with her, and at the same time she was looking to expand and have an assistant help her out with the abortion or the after abortion care program that was expanding. And some things were happening with my other job. Lisa was actually my old boss, so I had met Karen first and had made arrangements to come work for her, and then found out Lisa was coming on board here, so it was just kind of a confirmation that that this was where I was supposed to be. And my true heart is just to help help those broken women or men, that's typically women, to just find that freedom and forgiveness and healing in whatever journey it is that they're going through. And so with after abortion care that they get the opportunity, especially through this movie Unplanned, that's come out to really get in touch with women and help a program that does that as well.
So I am Jessie, and I work at the Venice office. I am eventually hopefully being able to build programming out for all of the offices. So I'm very excited about that. Had touch points with many of you, and some have heard my story, but essentially I come from a family that struggles with addiction and codependency, and began to look for love and find my identity in guys and sex, and ended up with my ex-husband. I got pregnant at 15, just thought instantly I couldn't have a baby and wouldn't have support, so I had an abortion. Then I had my not so little girl who's 17 now. A couple years later, found myself pregnant again. Still didn't think that I could have a baby, and went immediately to the solution that I had sought previously, which was abortion. So through that journey, I just kind of defended what I did and felt like it was the right choice, and felt like I was making the right choice for me, my family. And then I was working with survivors of sex trafficking, so that's brought a lot of healing to a lot of us that Lisa's had contact with. But through that and working with the women, you start to unfold a lot of your own trauma, which I had, but that one was one that wasn't touched until it was. And I feel like God really had to shake me like really hard and go like, look, this is what it is. So it actually, and I'm just going to be super transparent, it actually took hearing this story about a survivor taking her aborted baby that she took out of the toilet and being able to describe it, to go like, hey, this is what you did. So through that, I started to see what my next steps were. I did support after abortion with Karen. It's very near and dear to my heart. That's just not a journey you take with someone without having a special place.
I'm a proud mama.
And yeah, so now I'm being able to help other women. I just never want to see a woman make that choice based on lack of education or support, which was my story. So I love the education piece that we do. I love being able to work with the women and have that sit down, because either one of my abortions, no one ever said, "Are you sure?" Not once. So I don't want that to happen.
My name's Karen. I'm the director of support after abortion. I'm the poster child for bad decisions. I mean, honestly, if I were to just kind of like shout them all out, I had sex at 16, had an abortion at 18, married a guy that I didn't love, couldn't have kids, had a failed adoption, started drinking, became a raging alcoholic. My husband abused me physically for 11 years. Left that finally and started dating another guy who I lived with immediately because I was so codependent, and he did drugs. Went from bad to worse and became hooked on drugs and became homeless, did criminal things, been in jail a couple times, have a felony record. I mean, like, if you could think about, I don't know if there's anything in there other than I didn't go crazy in the process and have like any kind of mental illness that's ever been diagnosed. It's just not been diagnosed. So, but I mean, if I left anything out, let me know and I'll try to go experience that too. You know, I mean, I only say that because God has been, I mean, like in all of that, as difficult as it was at the time, at some point, God just snatched me out of it. And I went through recovery and really worked on all of those root issues that people have been talking about. You know, we're talking about the abortion or the drugs or the alcohol or the, but like, honestly, why are these women coming to our centers even thinking that they're pregnant? They have no business having sex with somebody that they're not married to. So let's like go back to there. You know, they just haven't gotten to the symptoms yet. They just haven't gotten to the consequences yet. You know, and so, yeah, I didn't even know that my abortion was a big deal. I knew that my drug addiction and my criminal background was a big deal, that my not being able to have kids was a big deal, you know, because I told myself I was never going to be a mom, and I did that to myself. But through all of the healing, I found out how many lies I really believe. You know, we take on a lot of lies that we don't even recognize as lies. I'll tell you right now, I am a mother, not only to the baby that's no longer with me, but to the women that I serve. I mean, like, she's probably about a little younger than my daughter would be, a little younger than my daughter would be, you know what I mean? So like, I am a mom and I get to walk in that, and that is totally my why, is that I don't want to see anybody. I want to use the pain that I've gone through to minister to others. And in this week, I haven't even had a chance to tell you, I had somebody call me that had an abortion, wasn't struggling with the abortion, but was really struggling with anger and resentment over the father of the baby. Well, I've been there. I know what that kind of anger is like. So I can draw upon my past experience to serve her where she is now, knowing that abortion is going to come to the top, to the surface at some point. But let's just talk about the part that she played in her pregnancy, the anger and the resentment that she has, and get to that forgiveness piece. You know, so God just uses everything that I've experienced. Somebody else called me during a domestic violence situation. Doesn't really have, she's not ready to talk about her abortion, but right now she's not in a safe place. So I've been able to draw upon my experience, being somebody that suffered with domestic violence for 11 years, to be able to serve them. I believe God uses all of our pain. He uses the least in me, because let me know, I'll tell you what, I am not able. I am not equipped. I do not deserve it. But what I do know is that I'm redeemed by the power of God, by the love of Jesus Christ. I'm gonna cry, girl. Preach now. And I don't want to see anybody feel that there's no hope for them.
Yeah.
I was in a hopeless place at one time, and there is hope for us all. And amen.
Amen.
Serve over. If you don't know Christ today, there's something.
thank you so much for just sharing that. That's incredible. I haven't heard your story. So thank you guys for sharing a little bit more about who you are so we can connect with you guys better and just know that you're real people. You know, and we're not walking in this place with these people who are just up here. They're right here with us guys as volunteers. And so I want to just thank you for guys sharing and be vulnerable and letting us in a little bit. So now with the volunteers, we get to speak. So it's okay. It's not a lot. So let me share. I'm Heidi, and I'm the volunteer coordinator. I am the volunteer coordinator.
We'll give you a raise.
Thank you for that.
Or just the extra shampoo or something. I'm sorry, that's a joke.
It's mine. So I'll get it started. I'll share a little bit more about my why. But we're going to go around if you guys could share your name, where you're potentially going to be serving, because I know not everybody is a volunteer yet, and what are the three. So your name, your location, and then what area that you really see yourself falling into within Pregnancy Solutions. So again, my name's Heidi Enlow. So a little bit about my why. I'm, the survivor of divorce, and then was sexually abused for 10 years. And so just through God's grace and mercy, just being able to walk in freedom for myself, that's just my passion for that woman. So just really, I pour my willingness to be in places that are really hard and uncomfortable sometimes, because I know what's on the other side of that murky water and that dirty water, and just it's so worth it. So just being willing to be that kind of the support team, and just that sometimes I'm that hard pusher. I'm that realistic. You bring me a problem, you better be ready to hear what I'm gonna have to say, because I'm not real a sugarcoater. So I think that's just something from my journey, that I have the ability to just be that strong voice sometimes when it's hard to have those conversations. So just a little piece of my journey. And I heard one time that sometimes you ask yourself, why did we sit in this journey? Why was this my path? Why? I didn't have a choice. I didn't have control of that. I didn't have a choice. But God knew that someone else, and Karen, you hit on it, someone else would need our path to bring them to their freedom. So because of that, I take my story and I am proud of it. And I get to now be a catalyst through God, because it's not by me. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I don't like to share. And to be honest, I don't want to share it. But God's like, no, there's a purpose. There's a purpose behind it. So I'm willing to sit in hard places, not because I want to, because God's like, we're going to sit, and we're going to sit there a while. So that's a little bit about my why. So I don't volunteer at any center. I'm kind of everywhere, a little bit off and on, more with you guys, which is my heart and passion, is volunteers. I love just sitting with you guys and just getting connected. And I love the women, don't get me wrong, and the clients. I tried it. I pulled myself out of it. My passion is right here with you guys. So I just love being able to just journey with you guys and just get to know you guys at a whole different level, because I'm not real social. So the more I get to connect, I'm learning to love it a lot more. So yeah. So we're gonna start this way.
You said you're not very social, and I said, see, there's something.
I'm like, we have the same friends for 15 years, because I cannot break him into new people. It's a process.
I have no filter.
He does, but it's clogged sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
You'll have to like it. No, I think for me, Heidi and I, we are both very strong Christians, and
His wife Heidi.
my wife.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
His wife Heidi.
I told her, if he calls you babe, I'm putting my foot down. It's really weird to hear him call another woman Heidi. And he walks up and like, hey Heidi.
But I feel like that as Christians that our former pastor, which I listen to all the time now, has been going through the book of Romans, and there's so many things within the book of Romans that come to mind with stuff like this. Saul was a bad guy. You guys talk about your stories, and Saul was a bad dude, and God saved him, didn't just save him, but used the experience that he, to come about and really bring out the good news, which, like Pastor John says, it's not just gospel's not good news, it's the best news. And he talks about through the book of Romans, if you are really a Christian, you don't serve because you have to. You don't serve because you have this desire within you to serve because you've got the best news, and so you want to serve, and that's part of what led us to this. And it's outside the church; it's something different. I'd love to think that I could offer something to some of these young guys. But, I've never been through that as far as the abortion thing, but if I could offer something, it would be great. And then right before we came to that first meeting or whatever, our former pastor, it was right after the deal had gotten signed in New York and Virginia, and he actually preached a message on abortion. Lots of facts, very, very factual, but it's the first time I've ever heard any pastor actually get in the pulpit. And this is a guy that has a church of 15,000 people. And so, but he's not unfamiliar with controversy, and he tells it like it is. And so anyway, that all kind of played into it.
So my first taste of Pregnancy Solutions was just right after we moved here about 2.5 years ago, and I went to an event at Island Walk, and just basically cried through the whole thing, and it was a lunch. So, but I just sensed the Holy Spirit, and so my story was, pregnant outside of wedlock to the guy in the cheap hotel, and we were broke up, and it was abusive, and this whole thing, and next thing I know, we're getting married, and the first year he takes all the money, runs off to Vegas, and leaves me with a week old at home, and that type of scenario. It took me a year to get out of it. Thankfully, it wasn't 11, and ended up kind of in another codependent relationship of someone that ended up being almost a form of a sexual predator, and just the blinders were on, totally turned my back on the Christian upbringing that I had, and then kind of found myself 7 years after the fact, just bankrupt, locked out of my house, had a 3-year-old at the time, and no help from the family type of thing. They just said, we can bail you out, but you'd be right back here in 6 months, and just really having to fight to find my way back. And that's fine. The Lord does come in and he redeems all of those places. But ended up finding ourselves, he doesn't always realize that we do have experience with this. He has it through my story as his wife, but then we also, his oldest son got a girl pregnant that we met once, and we found out via Facebook Messenger, hey, I'm pregnant, do you want to be involved? And I'm just sitting there in the living room going, you might want to read this, and that's how we found out about our first grandchild. And so just loved on her, befriended her, drew her into the family, had a really good role in raising her, helping raise her, went through the church saying you should have her give that baby up for adoption, and just wanting to punch the pastors in the face, because of their grandchild, you know what I mean? Just having that interaction of somebody that had no experience trying to tell you, give up your grandchild when you knew that you were capable of being involved in doing that. And then 8 years later, the same son, same scenario, another grandbaby outside of wedlock, so different woman, both named Amanda though, so there's that. But, you know, just realizing that unplanned pregnancy, I've since found out, since, you know, stepping into pursuing the volunteer thing, that literally probably 4 of my best, closest friends in my age group are all now struggling with abortions earlier in life. And just recognizing that it doesn't have a face or a demographic or a, you know, income bracket. You are not, it doesn't, you know, discriminate. And so, you know, a lot of our life isn't like what we would have thought it would look like at this point, but we also know that God can use that. Just really super quick, because I don't take one point. But this weekend we had a freedom conference at our church, and so I helped lead up the prayer team for that. And just even hearing and women stories, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, now that I met Karen, like I got to figure out like what's the way that I get to connect these women for a deeper touch of what they experienced this last weekend, you know, and just how I know that God orchestrated them being in front of me for that prayer, you know, and the first time saying she had an abortion, and the next time she came back and she happened to get me again, and it wasn't 1, it was 3. And, you know, so just now I'm kind of like, okay, I'm like, how do I do this? Give me all the info. So anyway, that's that.
Amy, let's get to you. Okay, so we're doing pretty good on time. I think we're about 5 minutes behind.
Okay, I'm Amy Vogel. Well, I guess I'm working right now in the fitness office. Before this from my You didn't even say minutes away. Oops. I can pass you in order. No, I'll take you outside. I got that. I'll go in. I'll go in.
He said North Corridor for
I don't care.
Wait a minute.
I
Wait a minute, I got a couple days of that.
All right. So anyways, so I actually, I guess my why is from a bunch of different perspectives, but 15 years ago, I attempted suicide. And after a lot of research and stuff like that, it's been like 5 generations back that my dad's side of the family died by suicide. I lost my grandfather in 2013, and that's what changed my whole life. I grew up Catholic, which, I mean, I always believed in God, but I didn't know him. So I knew every prayer, but I didn't know what it meant or anything like that. So in 2010, I went to non-denominational church and I was rebaptized. Actually, I feel like I actually got baptized because I don't even remember the first time. Anyways, so I got baptized. So in 2013, I was really worried about my grandfather going to hell. So I also didn't have any kind of help when I was suicidal. I didn't tell my parents. They didn't know until much later. I didn't tell any family members. The only person that knew was my husband. He literally picked me up, took me to get help, and he's been my rock ever since. He's like dealt with me like for 16 years almost. We're getting our vows renewed too this summer. I'm so excited. So anyways, so that has nothing to do with anything. I'm sorry. I've been taking this like trauma certification and it says be relaxed. So I've been relaxed today and I'm like, well, you can just talk about anything when you're relaxed. That guy with all the things behind his name is really smart. My prefrontal cortex is vomiting over everybody, but so I was suicidal, and then I remember looking at my husband. I was at a leadership thing, and I said, "Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening?" He said, "It's because it's your testimony. You're going to grow from this, and God's going to use you in different places." And you know, I believed him, but you know, like my brain believed him, but my heart didn't believe him yet. So after a while, 2 years after that, I decided to volunteer on the suicide hotline, which I still work on. I actually worked this morning. We have to work in 4-hour shifts because it's the stress. So I work another 4-hour shift here in a little while. But I started working there, and then they called me into working for them. So I'm still working for them. It's out of Indianapolis, but when I moved, they said, well, you can just stay stay on. So I was like, okay, so I do that. And then I also work with people who lost their loved ones from the military. It's a national program called TAPS. So since we have a lot of suicides and a lot of trauma, I just talked to somebody who, you know, all the hostile things, all the things you see on the news, they come to us. I've talked to people who have been on the news, their parents, their wives. It's really horrible. But the weird thing is I love it. I love helping people in crisis. I love helping people in trauma because I want to be that person who is going to be that professional that's going to actually be professional, but be a person too. And so I decided to go back to school for mental health counseling. And I went to school, my undergraduate is in dance performance. I never really thought I was smart enough. I have a 4.0 so far. I'm 1/3 done. And I was like, I actually am smart. How about that? So my parents are so excited. I've never seen my parents so excited. And my dad's not very vocal. He's never cried about my grandfather dying. It was a really terrible situation. My dad even helped clean it up. It's very hard for me to understand how he did that. But he told me the other day, you know, like, he's like, I'm just so proud of you for everything you've done. And my dad's never said anything like that. So like, he's just proud that I haven't died yet. So, but that's kind of, so I was in an interagency meeting because I work with Holly's Hope in Northport.
She does trainings for recognizing
I do.
suicide. I've been through.
Yeah. Were you with Karen?
No.
No? Okay.
But I've been through it too.
I know. That's where we found our love connection. I love Karen. I think she's amazing. But I'm usually missing these meetings because I'm working or doing something else. And I do a lot. I'm on a couple boards. I do 2 part-time jobs. I go to school. I have kids. I do a lot of things. And you all came and you talked, and you know how you feel like that pit in your stomach, and it's like, you know, it's like the God thing, and it's like, oh gosh, dang it, really? I don't have time for this. So I literally came home. I don't know what y'all did to me. I was like, man, this sounds really good. I feel So I like wrote down everything that I do, and I literally crossed off one thing that I really didn't need to do. I just didn't feel like you guys do this volunteer connect. There was no volunteer connect at what I was doing. It was like, you be there. It just wasn't like. So I quit that, which is hard for me to do. And then I signed up to do this. And then she was talking about internships and stuff. And then I stopped you. I found out you were licensed. And now we're meeting on Thursday. So yeah, and then I've been working with Jessie, and she's amazing. And you guys were there. And it was just so cool to see, like, I've looked at a lot of different places to do internships and stuff like that. And the thing that I was telling Jessie that I'm afraid of is that I don't want to push my clients out. Like, I don't want to say, hey, you're crying right now, but time's up, you gotta go. And that really bothered me. And so she actually had a client come in who was thinking about abortion. And obviously I'm not trained yet, so I wasn't in there, although I really wanted to speak in and listen. So they were talking to me, and the coolest thing was afterwards they prayed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, I take suicide calls every day, and there's no praying afterwards. It's just like waiting for the next caller. And it was just a breath of fresh air, and it was just amazing. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know, like, I just felt like I was led to kind of come here. So that was very sporadic.
That was awesome.
That was
awesome.
Yeah.
My brain's like, it's a wet noodle. That's what he calls it, the wet noodle.
Kathy, you want to go next? We're running really short, but I just feel very intentional as to where God has us next.
Oh, that's good. I'll be really quick. Obviously, well, I've never had an abortion. I mean, I've had trouble with pregnancies, lots of those. But let me see, I'm just coming from a really dark place after lots of losses. And I'm here for hope and healing. And I appreciate how healthy everybody seems to be on that level. So that's where I'm at.
That's a facade.
I was gonna
What you
say, we're
is
really
the Holy Spirit.
Well, I like the facade. I'll take that.
And Kathy, share about what you're doing within the organization. You're a God
Oh.
city right now.
Oh, I'm spending their money. I'm just ordering supplies, whatever anybody needs. I go between the offices and just do an inventory check. And then I order online or at Sam's Club and just deliver the stuff, or it comes through Amazon. So I'm just trying to help that way, make everybody else's job easier.
Keep us functioning in our subjects. I just want to tell you that, keep us functioning.
You guys are just being functional.
It's not a job, very much,
It's
not a job. It's a huge thing, you know, keep functioning.
Okay, thank you. It feels like I'm not doing anything.
Oh, you're doing
so much.
Yeah, you're doing so much.
Okay, so I'm John Ireland. I am Kathy's husband. She mentioned deep loss. Yes, we have deep loss. I'm in training for rookie dads, and men. There's one other in here. We tend to be islands. We keep to ourselves. We don't talk about our problems. We let everything up, and that's no way that we go through life. But that's how we were trained when we were young, and that's how men tend to be. So my hope is to, through years and years of therapy and counseling and grieving and everything else, I hope to use that to help young guys that are on the verge of becoming dads and even after they become dads. We thought we did pretty much everything right raising our kids, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way. So hopefully I've got some wisdom there I can use to help some other kids become fathers.
Okay, I'm Nikki. Probably gonna be in Northport. I don't have much to say. I'm not really toxic, but I don't talk good in groups. That's why. But one-on-one, I'm fun. So, I don't have like what you guys experience, and I do feel like I am moved to like help people. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. See where there's need for help, support, talk, one-on-one.
Well, thank you guys. I'm gonna let Lisa close us out for the last, I think we have 8 minutes. But I just really felt this was so intentional, guys. I think it's important to know that God brings many, many, many different people together for a great purpose. You know, so we may not have the same stories, but together, there's so much greatness, guys. You know, because we're all different puzzle pieces for one big family, and that's when our focus is heavenward. God's gonna put every single piece within us. You know, so which is why these connects for our volunteers are so important, because you have to connect with other people to be able to grow stronger and, you know, to learn how to do new things, you know. So I love that you guys are willing to come and sit in this and just be willing to be, I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I know God has a purpose. So we're all a puzzle piece, guys, but together we're in one massive piece serving the kingdom of God. And it's just such a great, I'm so excited just to be able to sit here with you guys and know that this is a tribe that I want to be a part of. You know, so just thank you. So we're gonna let Lisa close that, share a little bit of vision. Some of the things that have kind of shifted, maybe some of the insight that's been coming from Pregnancy Solutions.
Yeah, awesome. So I kind of think we need to go backwards to go forwards. So Pregnancy Solutions was established in 2001 as a result of a South County advocacy group that was predominantly Catholic. And they wanted to do something about it, and none had really ambitions to help pregnant women in our community. So they opened up a very small office in Venice, and it was first overseen by a husband and wife team. And that was the first 2 years, and they saw 4 women the first year. And they went through a little bit of a turmoil and trauma time, and we had our first executive director come on board as a result of that. And she's very much still involved. She is down in Port Charlotte. She goes to Murdoch Baptist, and she's been a great wealth of understanding and wisdom for me to really gain history, and I really value my time with her. She spent 8 years with us and grew what I see as the community we have supporting us in Venice. So she grew a huge church support. She grew a lot of community support. She took our banquets from, like, who knows, maybe 25 to to the 500 it is today. She really was a force to be reckoned with in communicating the need for our services in the community. And then after she left, we had an interim director, and then Callie came on, my predecessor, and she stayed with us for 6 years. And Callie really had a lot to do with who we are today. She helped launch all 3 campuses. So 5.5 years ago, we launched our Northport campus, and we just celebrated our 2nd birthday in April in Port Charlotte. Our Port Charlotte office is 450 steps from our local abortion clinic. So there's a lot of reason for that move. But just she really helped create a huge understanding for our community to see why we needed to be in our community, why we didn't need to be sending Northport residents to Venice and Port Charlotte to Venice. We wanted to be local to the community. She built the staff from 2 to what it is today, 12. It was just phenomenal. She also began experimenting with different programs that could support the whole family. So that's when Rookie Dads was birthed. The need to understand how much of an influence a dad has in a pregnancy decision and how much of an influence he has over the lifetime of that child and that family. One of the greatest supporters of fathers in our nation says there is no family without a father. And I really feel that that's very powerful. So I'm grateful that our men are here and stepping up, and to know that your sphere of influence will influence other men of your caliber to come help us and fight this fight. So very excited. She also toyed with the idea of a prevention program, and knowing that we could potentially get to these 19, 20-year-old girls if we could, and boys, like Sharon said about that promiscuity, if we could get in those high schools, if we could get in the classrooms and begin talking about what our culture is not talking about. How can we talk about healthy relationships? So we toyed with that. And then we began conversation about after abortion. And that's when Karen came on board, because we all spoke about generational health, right? Or lack thereof. And we know that if you've had an abortion, if you've had a divorce, if you've had substance abuse issues, the generations that are following you are more likely going to do the same thing. And you yourself are more likely going to fall victim to those same things. The enemy knows what he's doing, right? He knows what works. And so providing hope and restoration through a healing program is actually fighting the same thing we're fighting in our centers. And so what we've been able to do the last 8 months as a group of very passionate people from our board on down is be able to create a foundation to be able to do just that. And so we have really grown our mission, our vision, an understanding of our financial responsibilities. We've created through God's just everyday, just what I felt like purification, a platform to be able to move and grow to the next place that God has us. And we believe that to be nationally in some of our programs. And so I just wanted you to hear that so that you could see and know what you're a part of, but also so that you can carry this message forward. I've worked in places where I didn't even know what the mission statement was. And so I want you to just know that today. I want everybody that's listening to know that. We've worked really hard to create that foundation. So I'm just going to call randomly to see if my staff knows it. Let's go with Bobby. What is our mission statement, Bobby?
So we want to provide support and resources to men, women, and youth through prevention, intervention, and restoration.
So you're merging the two. Let's break, but you're close. Mission, Jess.
To empower youth, women, and men with life-affirming options and support.
You got it. To empower men.
I want another run at it.
But it's important because that is how we filter every decision, and we were intentional because you might, if you knew us back then, our mission statement was about pregnant women, period. And so we know that in order to meet our family where they are, we need to serve men, we need to serve the women, and we need to serve our youth. And we need to provide life-affirming options and support. And so that's why we're here. And so that we want you to know that that's what you're a part of. And our vision then is to end the demand for abortion through our prevention program, an intervention program like we have at all 3 of our centers, and a restoration program. And so those are the 2 guiding just lights as we move forward so that you have an idea of who we are. We also created core values. So we are following we use our LIFE acronym because we believe life has inherent value and worth. And so we are going to strive to be the most awesome leaders in our community. We're going to walk with the utmost integrity. We want to walk with our faith first, and we want to provide the most excellent, both interpersonal and community support that we can. And so we are really striving to be that for our community, for our clients, for you guys, for our partnerships in the community. And I spoke about the national piece, but we were in Dallas a couple weeks ago, or last week, and there was nobody talking about men. We really didn't want to get out there. We didn't realize that we were kind of on the front lines with this. We had no idea. And so we know that there's a calling for that. And then our Support After Abortion program has already launched nationally with a partnership with the Unplanned movie. All the calls we're taking from around the country, and we just know that once it goes out on DVD, who knows where it's going to go from there. But there's a lot of stuff happening in our little community of Venice, Northport, and Port Charlotte that is being recognized on a much bigger level. We served 750 new clients in 2018, and we are already on our way to serve well over 850 clients. We saved 35 babies last year. We already have saved 21 babies in just 4 months of 2019. We are just recognizing the community left and right. Thursday, we've been asked to interview for Business of the Year, nonprofit business of the year in Venice. So just there's different ways that God's allowing us to open into more opportunities to have this discussion. One of the things that the actor said in the movie and the author of Unplanned said is, we just want to start conversations. Start conversations with fellow Christians, but start conversations in my heart with people that don't know the Lord. Because there's so much light to be brought to the darkness. And so we are just really excited to be able to do that. And I'm just so excited to be just a part of this journey. And my team is just sacrificially given of themselves. The last 8 months have not been easy. And we've done a great job. And our volunteers have walked through a lot of transition, and I'm grateful for all of you. We are really intentional about making sure that you're seated on the right seat on this bus, and we're all moving in the right direction. And so we are willing to have those hard conversations and do what we can to get that to be taking place, all in the honor of God. So that's a little bit of what's going on with us and who we are. Is there any questions that I can personally answer for you?
Well, Lisa, can we honor the time?
Yes.
It is an hour.
Sure.
So let's close out in prayer, and if you have questions,
Great
can we
idea.
honor that for when we're
Yep.
done?
Yep.
Okay, so let's close out in prayer. Thank you. Heavenly Father, as we come to right now, we just want to stop and just thank you for bringing us together, Father. Thank you for understanding the big picture so much better than we do, Heavenly Father. We are all so vital in this journey called life, and just help us not to forget that. Help us not to forget that when that journey is hard, or it's sticky, it's ugly, it's mucky, there's so much purpose, Heavenly Father. So give us the strength to endure it. Give us the ability to surround ourselves with the right people. Give us the gut check to know that this is only possible by you, through you, and only because you believe in us, because we have purpose, we have breath in our lungs. This is where we are meant to be sitting, Lord Jesus. So just as we go throughout this week, our day, our minutes, our hours, just daily remind us that we have breath in our lungs because we have a purpose by you, Heavenly Father. Just thank you for this life. Thank you for just trusting us today to walk on this earth for you. Just we pray, amen and amen.
I'm here for questions.